Get ready, because it's the TacoTuesday.com podcast.
I just got down in the basement of the castle, and Brad and Barry are upstairs investigating. They sent me down here. Do we have any POWs down here? Now I just felt pins and needles in the same spot. That's kind of weird. If that's you touching my arm, why don't you tell me what your name is?
All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the TalkTuesday.com podcast. Today we have Katie Burr, paranormal investigator. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No, you're welcome. So what do you want to talk about?
Paranormal stuff, I guess.
I was going to say that would kind of be on brand. So, yeah. She's like, I'm really hearing about the DMV. I've got some complaints. Like
The DMV, we could be here for a while.
Yeah, I do have some complaints, but
that's fair.
we don't need to get into that.
No.
My registration is almost $300. Can you believe that?
I can't believe that.
Scam ever, car registration.
That's scarier than anything that she's seen. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
So, Katie Burr, how did you get started as a paranormal investigator?
Well, you know, it's always kind of just been in my life, honestly. Like, since I was little, like, since I can remember, my family just all have had experiences. I don't know, maybe it's genetic, but, you know, my mom and my grandma told me stories from the time I was a little girl. And it was never something that I questioned. I didn't start having my own experiences until I was probably in my 20s. Well, at least that I know of, right?
That you were like open to?
You're right, yeah. But yeah, like the stories were just like free flowing from, you know, other people in my family just from the time I can remember.
Yeah. Who was your first, like, relative to bring that into your life? Like, who was the first person to talk to you about it or open your mind to it?
It was my mom and my grandma both, because they actually collectively had a story together. It's actually a cool story. I can tell it if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, I guess my great grandma, who I never met, she passed away before I was born. She was in a nursing home, and she had, you know, a roommate, I guess, in the nursing home. And I guess after she passed away, my mom and my grandma were shopping in, you know, some department store. And they both, at the same time, looked up from the shopping cart and looked across the store and saw my great-grandma and her nursing home roommate shopping in the store together. And neither of them knew that the other one had seen it. And they were just, you know, white as a ghost. And then they looked at each other and were like, oh, you saw that too. And it was undeniable. So that was the first story that I really remember hearing from them. And I mean, like I said, as a kid, it's like anything's possible, right? Like nothing really shocks you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a shocking story to me at the time. It was just kind of like, oh, I guess this happens. So maybe, you know, like when I started having my own experiences, I think it was just kind of like, oh, well, you know, this has already been a thing in my life.
Runs in the family.
Exactly.
Yeah, my mom and I, when I was a kid, had a shared experience too. That sounds weird, but it's like the shadow people, I think they're called. It was just this thing sitting in the corner of my room, and it looked like somebody just standing there looking at me all aggressive, and I was like, this is freaking me out, you know, and I'm a kid, so I'm wondering if I'm going to bolt into my parents' room or what I'm going to do about this. And then finally it just lunges at me, and I was like, all right, this is it. I'm out. I jumped back, ran out of my bed, went and told my mom. She was like, shut up. You're being annoying, dude.
You're making it up.
3 o'clock in the morning. Nobody has time for this. You know, go to bed. And then 2-ish hours later, she comes into my room and said the same exact thing just happened to her. And we both got sick the next day. Like, we both threw up sick the next day. And we didn't know why, but it was just this thing that we talk about still to this day that was completely inexplicable. She's done some digging into it, and apparently a bunch of people have that experience. They call it shadow people.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've definitely had that experience. I've not had the getting sick. That's the first I've heard of that, but that's a little scary, actually.
It was intense. Because now I'm an adult and I question it like, oh, am I just misremembering it? You know, it was a long time ago. Did we hype it up in our heads? But I remember the feeling pretty vividly. It was intense.
Was that the only time that you had that happen in that house?
The only time I ever had something like that.
God, I would hope so.
Like we were talking about
Yeah,
before we went
right.
online, the house I grew up in had the most haunted laundry room in probably anywhere. It was this horrible color of yellow. You know, you would turn on the light and it would flicker, and the little panels that covered the actual light poles, you know, were broken. So it just looked like a dingy sort of hospital, you know? I don't know.
It looked haunted.
It looked haunted.
You're like, this is haunted.
And then you walk in and you can see there's like a toilet that doesn't have water in it and it doesn't run. There's several doors, a big sink. It was just this weird. It was haunted. I don't know how to. That was pretty much all I got.
You just feel it, right? You just go in there and you just
when
feel
you're
it.
there, yeah. If you're ever there, you'll feel it. Although I don't know who lives there, so.
We should go knock on the door and
Seriously.
be like, hey, can we investigate your laundry
I
room?
was gonna say, is it still
Yeah.
around?
The house is still around. I want to go to the new owners. and be like,
TacoTuesday.com
hey,
podcast about to go remote. Yeah.
yeah, we can knock on some doors. I'm down to get weird.
Hey, just FYI, this is haunted. Okay, it wasn't disclosed on Zillow, but
Yeah.
They probably know by now. You
Oh, they
know,
figured
like
it
you
out.
say laundry
Yeah.
room, they're like, oh, wait, what's going on with the laundry room?
yeah.
Oh, that? Yeah, we boarded it up. Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
even. That's done.
I was thinking like the furnace in Home Alone, like just that. Yeah, just that kind of like horrifying space.
yeah.
Just like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
no,
was like
thank you.
that though.
what are some of the wildest places that you've gone like investigating? Like some of the craziest experiences that you've had?
The last place that I was at for the last show that I was on, rather, by far the most haunted place I think I've ever been. I was not prepared for it at all. It was Pennhurst Asylum. It's like an hour north of Philly.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'd been doing this for a long time. And so, you know, when I got invited to do that show, you know, I didn't even really like look into the place. I just kind of showed up. I didn't really have like a backstory. I looked a little bit into it, but they really didn't want us to also.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And also the craziest stuff that happens there, I don't know if it's online now, but like at the time I couldn't find anything about that. It was just about like kind of the more mild stuff that happens in like one of the buildings there that, you know, I guess they allow people to go in, but we got to go into places there that, you know, most people don't, like on the show. And so I show up at this place and I'm like, oh, you know, I've done this a million times. It's no big deal. Like, let's just get through the 2 weeks that we're here, you know. And I'll tell you, like, my eyes got opened to things that, like, I, even doing this for like a while, you know, just wasn't used to.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. It was, you know, one of the buildings that they let us into is called the Devon Building there. And they kind of saved that one for last. You know, we were going into, you know, all the other buildings that, you know, people get to go into and a couple that, you know, they didn't. But, like, it wasn't, like, crazy, you know. Then we go into this place. And the second you walk in there, like what you're saying, you know, you just feel it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know what I could feel, but I could feel something, you know, and I'm a little sensitive. I'm not like psychic or anything, but I'm kind of just a highly sensitive person. So I can, you know, feel people's energy. I can feel the energy of a room, you know, just different things like that. So I walk into this place and it was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. So I'm just kind of like, okay, something's going on here. I don't know what it is, but it was like a weird feeling. And so later on, this ends up being the most like crazy place that I've ever been in. And I actually ended up taking something home from there, if that tells you anything about that place. So, yeah, like one of the guys that we were with ended up getting kind of mildly possessed. And I hate using that word because it, you know, it's not as common as like some of these shows will have you think that it is. And I don't know, maybe I could call it something else besides possessed, but he just wasn't himself for like a while, you know, for a couple hours actually. And you can see it on the episode, you know, like every time people were like, no, this didn't really happen. I'm like, go watch the show. Like, I promise you, this is not like, we didn't fake this, anything. Like I was crying, like I was like trying to like avoid the cameras because like I was actually in tears because I was just so freaked out by what was going on. But, you know, the guy it happened to is this guy, Austin, and he's not the type to fake things. You know, he's the most like, you know, just steadfast, like you see what you get kind of person, you know? And so when he started acting like this, you know, we were all concerned. Like his cousin was there on the team with us and even he was like freaked out. He's like, he doesn't act like this. Like, I don't know what's going on, you know? But he just, I don't know, he just wasn't him. and we all like really started to notice it. And then he started having what looked like a panic attack and was like rolling around on the floor. And we had to pick him up and actually like help him out, like do like a drunk person, you know?
Jesus.
And we got outside, and the medic like actually met us there because, you know, we were freaking out and he's freaking out. And they said that he was borderline seizure. Like his vitals were borderline seizure.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've never experienced anything like that at any of the other places I've ever been to. You know, I've done this on my own. I've done this, you know, on shows, and, you know, that was just like, it was insane. And then to take something home from that building as well, it was just like crazy.
I want to talk about that. So you go to this horribly haunted place, like Asylum outside of Philly immediately. You're like, yeah, that's probably bad. Shout out Eagles fans. But you take this bag. Presumably you flew from there. So you just brought it on the airplane, huh? Like,
I guess so.
Possibly haunted item, just kind of like souvenir.
Well, and that was a first for me too. You know, I've lived in places that had things going on, like, you know, what you're talking about, like, but that was already there. Like, you know, it wasn't something that was attached to me. And I've heard of that happening, obviously. I've known people that it's happened to, but, you know, typically it's like, you know, if you go to antique stores and you buy something and there's something attached to the object, and you bring the object home, it's like stuff like that, you know. But for me, I had never taken something home from a place, you know, I didn't even think it could happen to me. I'm like, oh, it would never happen, you know. Then I go to this place and it's like, oh, surprise, like all this stuff that I've never dealt with in like, you know, 10, 11 years of doing that, all of a sudden it's happening to me. And yeah, like you said, it's like it came home on the plane with me, I guess, you know, back to California. So that's interesting.
That's like, no, like, ooh, I don't know. Nope.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't like that, knowing that I didn't have a problem when I left my house. But now I'm coming home with this little external, invisible problem that's going to keep me awake. And like, what were some of the signs that you knew you took something home with you?
Well, that's the thing. So I was actually going to talk about this because it didn't happen in some like typical way that I expected either. I wasn't feeling like myself when I left. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm just tired. You know, I've been there for 2 weeks. We've all been there for 2 weeks. We've been a long time. Drained. You know, we've been kind of sleep deprived just from the whole experience. And, you know, I thought I just need to rest. Like, it's going to take me a while to kind of like get back to normal. But it didn't matter, or it seemed to not matter how much sleep I got. I actually stayed an extra day at the hotel instead of going home the next day. Like everybody else left. I decided to stay an extra day at the hotel just to sleep all day because I was so exhausted. And I slept all day, woke up at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night or something, and, you know, got some food, and I just had to go right back to sleep. I was so tired. And so when I got home, I was sleeping a lot and just trying to like, you know, catch up and feel like myself again. And even then, it didn't matter how much sleep I got. I just didn't feel right. And I was super emotional. I wasn't myself, you know. And this went on for probably like 2 weeks straight, I think, after I got home. And then all of a sudden stuff started happening in the house. Like I was seeing shadow people in my house. And the creepiest thing was, well, actually there's two creepy things. The first thing that happened was my dog was in our hallway. I lived with my ex-boyfriend at the time, and we had a, you know, dog that like he wouldn't bark really. Like he wasn't like a barker, you know, but he was sitting at the bathroom in the hallway, like the doorway, and the door was always closed. And he was just barking, and I'm just like, what? Like I had to go see. I'm like, what is it, you know? And I opened the door, and there was an electric toothbrush in the bathroom that was like sitting on the counter, and it was dancing across the counter by itself. It turned itself on.
Time to move.
Exactly, right?
I'm out. Yep.
And it was just like dancing across the counter, and I'm like, okay, you know, like I've never had stuff like this happen in the house, you know.
Yeah.
I'm seeing shadow people, and then this is happening at the same time. Like this is a lot going on, and it doesn't typically, like, when you do this stuff, you realize, like, the movies kind of glamorize it, you know, like Paranormal Activity. It doesn't happen like that. It's not just, like, going off 24/7 and this crazy stuff that's happening. And so I would always laugh at stuff like that. But with this stuff that was happening after I got back, it was back to back to back like that. And I'm like, okay, this is not how I've experienced it before, you know? And I'm not saying like, you know, obviously things like dragging you up the wall and stuff that happens in that movie are true necessarily.
I would leave the country.
Exactly.
Oh no, I'd be out so
Yeah.
fast. Yeah.
I've had dreams like that. I've had dreams where like a ghost is doing that to me, which is insane.
It's just rude.
Yeah.
Well, I had those nightmares after watching Paranormal Activity because I had never even considered being dragged out of my bed by my ankle by a demon or whatever.
Right.
And
Like,
taken outside and
New fear unlocked, right?
No.
Big time. Yeah. You see that video of that car on the freeway and the car in front of him loses a wheel. The whole wheel comes off and just rolls right under this dude's tire. Kickflip.
I
like,
did see that.
10 feet into the air. Everybody in the car died. I was like, that was new fear unlocked
Yeah.
for me. Now I stay way behind people on the freeway.
That's like Final Destination on steroids.
It was wild. Because it's like, first of all, why are you filming?
Right.
You know, I wanted to know what the reason for filming was in the first place. They just
Right.
have a camera rolling and then all of a sudden everybody's toast. Sorry. Anyway.
Keeping it real light on the Taco Tuesday podcast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Don't forget to check out tacotuesday.com for some more depressing information.
Aerial automotive death.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have the ghost girl on.
The ghost girl.
Things get
That's
dark.
cool. I feel like because now that we're friends, I might refer to you to other people as that. I'm like, oh, I had the ghost girl on.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm used to it.
It's a cool title, frankly. Yeah.
The
It's objectively
Ghostbuster,
cool.
The Ghost Hunter.
The
I've heard it
Ghostbuster.
all.
People just call me Cody. And it makes me turn my head, so I just go with it.
You're also like, you're the Waterloo guy.
Yeah, I am known for being the Waterloo guy. I pretty much only hydrate with Waterloo, and I get like irritated when I have to pour myself out of the Brita filter water. Ugh.
No, for anybody watching, like that's not a shameless plug. He has a borderline addiction. So
He does.
Not borderline.
Yeah,
It's
full
fine.
on.
I'm actually his drug dealer, too.
That's right. You are his Waterloo dealer.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ghost girl's
Hey,
your
I'm gonna
hookup.
see you after the show, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta talk to you.
You come load up your car.
Yeah,
Your
because
house.
I'm running dangerously low on peach and blackberry lemonade, so
We
I
can't
would
have
like
that.
to. Yeah, I'd
Bad
like
things
to fix
happen,
it.
right?
Yeah. So when you've had this thing, you said for a few weeks in your house.
Yeah.
So you dealt with it for a few weeks. What was like the first step in your mind to get rid of this? Like, what were the steps that you like? All right, I have to figure something out. What did you do?
It kind of got rid of itself in a way.
Oh,
So
lovely.
that was like how I said, like, there was two. I know we go off on tangents, right? But so like the toothbrush was the first crazy thing. I mean, the shadow people was the first crazy thing, but I'm kind of used to that. I can deal with that, you know. But then the toothbrush happens, like, okay, this is something's going on here, right? So the final thing that happened was, so like I said, my ex who I was living with at the time, he actually one morning, like I had just woken up and he got up before me. He had taken our dog out and I knew he was outside. I knew he was not in the house. And I'm, like putting the pillows back on the bed or something in the bedroom. And like I said, I know he's not in the house at the time, but I hear something in his voice address me by name. And it was clear as day. And again, this has never happened to me. Like, I've never had something try to maybe like manipulate me like that, or like, talk like it's somebody that I know and talking to me directly. So this is like next level stuff where I'm like, okay, this is not allowed in my home. Like, I can deal
We
with
need to
the
have a talk.
shadow guys. I can deal with, knocks or bangs or something falling over. I've had all that kind of stuff happen, over the years. But this is like a whole other thing. When
Well,
something
that's
is
a
like
conversation suddenly.
right,
Yeah.
right,
No thanks.
something's pretending to be somebody that you know and addressing you directly. It's
Yeah,
like
no.
this is the darker stuff, and no, I'm not living with this.
Yeah.
So it was like when I heard it, it was enough for me to question. Maybe he came back inside. Maybe I just didn't hear him come back inside. So I, after it addressed me, I was like, yeah. And then nothing, silence. And I'm like, okay. So he came back in and I was like, you just came back in the house, right? Like, you haven't been in here. And he's like, no, I just came back in. Why? And I was like, because something just said my name out loud. And so that was a conversation, obviously at that point. But I I took charge, you know. I was like, I don't want this in here. I don't want this thinking this is okay. It's kind of the same thing as
We
like
need to set boundaries.
Exactly. I mean, like, if you have, you know, somebody that you're dealing with in, you know, real life with a real person, like you have a bully or somebody, like you're going to set boundaries. Like you said, you know, you're not going to just let somebody like manipulate you or like, you know, especially in your own house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything like that. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to treat this like it's a person, you know, ghosts are people too, right? They were a bad guy in their waking life, then they're going to be a bad guy after they die, right? So you kind of got to just treat it like that. So I kind of just took force, and the neighbors probably thought I was crazy, but you got to do what you got to do. I told it to get out of my house. I was screaming at it basically, and you know, I don't know. I guess it worked because it left. Like I didn't really have experiences in there after that, but I mean that's kind of what you got to do. You got to just like take charge, you know.
I like this. You know, I think maybe the darker spirits they understand the language of power.
Yeah.
And authority. So
For
they're
sure.
like, okay, that's how I would tell me to get out. So I can respect that.
Are there any happy haunting stories that you have? Like you, instead of like a dancing toothbrush and getting like yelled at by an entity, instead it's like I woke up and someone had made brownies. Like
I wish that would happen. Like that I would welcome in my house.
right? Like you'd be down like a you know ghost roommate who like cleans, occasionally does some baking. You know, like a Roomba but a spirit. Like it
The
just handles the
occasional
shit.
margarita on the dinner table.
Yeah,
You're like,
I'm
oh,
saying,
look
like-
at that.
I mean, I've had good experiences too. I mean, if it was all bad, like I wouldn't continue to do this for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
that kind of makes sense.
to be honest with you, after that stuff happened to me and after being at Pennhurst and, you know, all the dark stuff that was happening there, I did for a while kind of question if I wanted to keep doing this because it was so shocking. It was so unlike anything that I had ever experienced. And especially like having a teammate, like watching that happen to them, you know, you're like, okay, is it a matter of time before that happens to me? I mean, I guess
Right.
it kind of did happen to me in a different way than him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I for a while was just like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I kind of took a step back from it because I was like, it can affect your life. I mean, honestly.
I was going to ask, like, without kind of getting too personal, but I can't help but ask the question because I'm curious about it. How do the people you're with in relationships feel about this? You're like, hey, honey, how was your trip? By the way, maybe I brought a spirit home, so good luck. Some shit's going to get weird.
For sure. I mean, if the person that you're with isn't used to this kind of thing, it can cause problems.
Yeah.
Like, luckily, you know, both of my previous relationships, I was with people that also did this stuff.
Got it. Okay.
Kind of, well, behind the camera, but they
Yeah.
had, you know, that's the thing. Like the crew on a lot of these shows also are experiencing things. It's not just the cast members that are on the show. The crew is also, they don't show that a lot, you know, and they should, because a lot of the time they'll pick up things on their camera or on their audio that maybe we don't even catch, you know. It's some of the shows kind of, you know, break the fourth wall and bring, like we did on the first show that I was on, Ghost Lab. Like there were a couple times where you know, we had utilized like the footage or, you know, the audio from the crew because they actually like caught a shadow or they saw something from a different angle that maybe we didn't see.
Right.
But yeah, both of my exes like had worked on the crew on these shows, so they were used to it. But I have friends in the paranormal that have, you know, dated people that aren't in this, and you know, they've been like out. They've been like, I'm done.
It's going to be an interesting
Well, it's
conversation.
definitely
at some
like
point.
you're in or you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, on that. You either believe it and you're open to it, or you're like, people are crazy.
Or you don't believe in it, and then it happens to you, and you're like, oh, maybe they are crazy.
Damn it. Yeah.
You're like, oh no, I wasn't ready for that.
You're right.
Yeah. No, that would be something. I mean, because I feel like I've told my wife the haunting stories a number of times, and she's like maybe a little skeptical about it. I'm like, I'm telling you.
She hasn't had the experiences.
She has, and I think she is open to that stuff, but I don't know.
Just give it time.
Why is
Yeah.
it always? It's always like old penitentiaries and like asylums, and I feel like
Yes.
the East Coast is way worse than the West Coast.
Well, the East Coast has,
There's
I
just
feel like
more
a
of 'em.
lot more history.
Yeah,
you know, it's
for sure.
been around longer. There's,
Yeah.
you know,
There's been humans there for more time.
right.
So what happens when inevitably somebody tears down this penitentiary and like gentrifies the neighborhood and throws in like a Phil's Coffee or something, like are the spirits going to stick around and all of a sudden it's going to get weird at like the local Whole Foods? Like,
It's happened. It's happened. I mean, a lot of these places, like you have these places that, you know, it'll be like that. Like I actually, before I did any of the shows, I was living in Florida. And there was this old, I guess, military base that they did exactly that. They tore down. I don't know the history of it, but it was an old military base. They built this really nice neighborhood on top of it, and there was like this little town center that had like, you know, just stores and shops, and you know, there was like a tanning place that I actually worked at, and it was a haunted tanning place. And I didn't plan this, but I was like, I started working there, and the lady's like, oh, by the way, we're haunted. And I'm like, of course. Like, it follows me around, you know? Like, it's just my whole life. I'm drawn into these places, I guess. But yeah, I worked at a haunted tanning place because of the military base. So exactly to your point that, you know, you can put like a grocery store or put a coffee place or put a tanning place like on top of, you know, whatever history was there. And they're still going on about their day thinking it's, you know, current times.
fine, but you're like, just wait. Well, I always think like I went to high school back east and we would go like play other schools for sports and stuff. And there was a school called Trinity Pauling. It's in New York. I think it's Pauling, New York is where it's at. But on the drive to the school, there's like an old mental hospital type of thing, and it's closed down. Obviously, it looks like something out of a film set, but you drive by it and you look at it and you just go, no, like there is some shit in there. I know it. And it's one of those places you're like, eventually that's going to get changed because you can't just leave those things around forever. They look weird and probably not great for real estate values. So I've just always
Kids
liked that
break into
idea.
'em.
Exactly. I've always liked the idea of like, come try our luxury apartments, and then there's just like, you know, ghosts over here because they didn't leave. Like,
I mean, that absolutely happens. It happens probably more often than people think about it. But like, I can't tell you, there's like, I'm from San Antonio originally, and there's these like really cool lofts that are downtown, and I was always like, oh, I would love to like maybe buy one of those someday or something like that, because they're just like really cool looking. Come to find out, it was an old hospital.
oh no, immediately. No.
So I'm actually curious to talk to some of the people that live in there, because I'm like, okay, there's probably stuff going on.
I like the idea of a haunted Whole Foods. Like you said, you're walking up to Whole Foods and there's just some dude screaming, running out the exit.
I mean, the haunted tanning booth is great. The marketing writes itself. It says, come in like a ghost and stay for the ghost. We'll get you tan and you'll leave and still be like, it's there.
That
Like,
was crazy. I'm telling you, working at that place, because like my first day, there was stuff going on there. Like, so I think we've talked about this, but there's two different types of hauntings. There's like residual hauntings, and then there's the intelligent hauntings. And the intelligent ones are just like, you know, sitting here, something's interacting with you, like the thing that called my name, like that's intelligent, you know, it's interacting with me, it's aware of me. Then there's like the residual hauntings where it's like, oh, the lady in the white dress that walks through the room that looks like she's from the 1800s that people see, you know, that is typically not like what we think of as a ghost. It's more like you think about a projection or, you know, something playing back, like it was recorded onto the environment and you're just seeing kind of like the playback of it, right? But she's not aware that you're there. It's not like an actual like spirit walking through the room.
Yeah.
So when I worked at the tanning place, I think it was a lot of residual stuff going on. Like it was kind of just, you know, maybe the heyday of whatever was going on at the military base, and it was like recorded on the environment and it's just replaying in this tanning place now. Because the first day that I was there during my training, you know, the lady had kind of told me some of the stories that were going on there. And we were standing in the first room, and, you know, the tanning beds have like radios on them. And so the radio was on the tanning bed, and she's just standing there talking to me, and like nobody was in the place yet. Like it was still locked. And all of a sudden we hear this guy's voice over the radio on the tanning bed, and we couldn't make out what he was saying, but it was just like blah, 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 and then he said a name, and we both looked at each other and were like, okay. And she's like, see, I told you, stuff's going on here all the time. So we started thinking about it, and we were thinking that it might be, you know, when somebody answers the phone, like on a military base, they have to like, you know, state like their rank and, you know, a bunch of information before they actually say, can I help you or whatever. So we think it was the guy stating, you know, all that information
Yeah.
and then stating his name afterwards. And it was just kind of like a residual thing where he's just answering the phone, and that was like recorded on the environment and getting played back at that moment. But crazy stuff like that would happen, you know. Like I actually did see, I think, like an apparition of a sailor. I think it was a Navy base, walking through when I was just like folding towels, and I'm like, oh, okay, this stuff really does go on here every day.
Do you nickname him or anything like that? Like if anybody else sees him, you're like, what was that? You're like, that's Phil. He comes around every day at 3.
I mean,
like,
if you see him every day, yeah. Like if people see people all the time, then you either figure out what the history is, and then it is, Phil walking through, or it just becomes, like you said, give him a nickname. And
I feel like we really should take this whole concept and just pitch it to Netflix. They would greenlight it, do 2 seasons, and then immediately cancel it. But it would be great. Like
it would be a really solid 2 seasons.
Yeah. Before they cancel it, even though everybody loves it, because Netflix going to Netflix.
That sounds like my first show. It was a really solid 2 seasons before Discovery canceled it.
I have a quick question. You talked a lot about history through everything. Could you kind of go through what you normally do to prepare when you go to different cases and stuff like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, typically, like, if you have a paranormal team, there's usually somebody that, I mean, everybody kind of wears a bunch of different hats, but there's typically somebody that's kind of in charge of, like, finding out the history of place, like a historian, you know? I mean, obviously, like, we could all look into that, but there's typically somebody that's kind of, like, dedicated to just doing, like, an in-depth research, of whatever place that we're going to. And, that it becomes very helpful, because then you're not just like walking in and being like, just blind to, it's just like a needle in a haystack. Like, what are you even looking for, But a lot of the time we've found just in some of the cases that we've done that you can do the best of research and you can be like, oh, it's, Native American burial ground, or it's whatever is going on here. It's so-and-so that used to live in this house. And then you go in and you're looking for that and you're not turning anything up. And come to find out, it's something else entirely. Like, we had a case in Arkansas where we thought it was, the Trail of Tears. We thought it was like Native American related. Yeah. So like we go in there because the Trail of Tears did go right through their property. And, this family's having all this crazy stuff happen in the house, and, the kids are terrified and whatnot. So we're like, okay, it's Native American, right? So we're going in there, we're doing everything to provoke these Native American spirits. Nothing's happening. Then we turn to, okay, who's in the house? Like, if it's not Native American, who is it? Nothing's happening still. It wasn't until we brought the family members in and actually had them investigate with us that all of a sudden now we're getting responses to things. Turns out it was family members, and there was a family feud that had been going on, and they, I guess, had the unfinished business that they wanted to resolve it. And so, the kids are terrified.
McCoy. Yeah.
Yeah, like the kids are terrified, all this stuff's going on, and they have no idea who it is. But turns out it's like the aunt and uncle or something like that are, in the house, and they just want to be heard because they have this unresolved family feud. And we figure all this out after a couple days there, and it turns out, it's not what we went in there looking for. Yeah. We've had that happen a lot where it's like you do all this research, which is still important.
Yeah.
It's still important. It's a good like basis to start off with,
sure.
But sometimes you go in there and it's a complete twist from what you were expecting.
Yeah. Man, Thanksgiving at that house must have been lit.
Yeah, right.
Or something.
Like, the airing of grievances must commence.
So I did have a question. I know we talked about it already, but I wanted to do it on camera. What do you think happens when we die? Like, has doing any sort of paranormal investigating given you any sort of insight or like hints of what you might think happens when you die?
I think doing this has given me more questions, if anything. Like,
right.
It's made me even more open-minded about what happens after we die. Like, I grew up, with a Lutheran family, like that, I grew up in the church, and I think, not to get too like religious or whatever, but I have kind of turned more away from the things that I was taught as a kid, in a way where I've come to the conclusion that we just don't know. We don't know. And I think you know, it's when you're a kid and you grow up that way, being taught, you know, certain things that like it's not even really a choice for you. It's just kind of like fed to you.
Oh
know?
yeah, no, you're just told this is
You're
what
told.
you do. This is
And it's comforting, I guess, and you're just like, oh, this is what happens. This is how it is, right? But then, you know, you grow up, and especially getting into a field like this, where you're like, okay, well, if this happens, then this kind of doesn't make sense anymore, and you know, maybe that's okay. I think that's like kind of what conclusion I've come to is I don't know what happens after we die, and I think that we're meant to just kind of be okay with that.
I do too. I mean, that's really ultimately my theory, is that it's something that we're not supposed to know until we know it.
Right.
And we're all going to experience it one day. And I, like you said, I think religion gives people this sort of comfort of, if I do A and B, I will get C. Like, that will be the result. I will, you know,
Don't have to question it.
eternity's good. I'm covered.
Right.
So I don't have to worry about it. But I always had the problem of asking why. You know,
me too.
I'm going to keep asking why until we get, you know, all the way upstream to the answer, right? To the origin of the story. And, you know, with every religion, you know, because I was raised going to church on Sundays, you know, combing my hair, having my Sunday best on, all that, you know, praying before meals, the whole shindig. And even as a kid, I was like, well, why did this happen? Well, how did that happen? Well, this doesn't make sense. How did that happen? And eventually you get to every religion is going to tell you, well, you have to have faith.
Yeah.
Now,
Don't question.
That is where the line of questioning stops. Is just have faith. I'm like, I need evidence. I
Right.
have to see something or feel it. Like, I have to get some sort of validation, I guess, to be on board.
No, me too. I mean, I was exactly that kid too. Like, we would have gotten
Yeah.
along. But yeah, I mean, I was always like, I can have faith, but there's certain things that faith doesn't cover for me, you
Right.
know? And I have questions, and when nobody could answer those things or would give me kind of contradicting answers, that's where my brain, you know, as a smart kid,
Yep.
I'm like, no, this doesn't make sense to me, you
Yeah.
know? And maybe like I don't have the answers, maybe nobody can give me the answers, but the fact that like the questions are, nothing makes sense, nothing adds up, you know, and too much is like contradicting. It's like I can't just go on that and be like, oh, well, I have faith,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think something. I don't think nothing happens when you die. I
Right.
for sure think something happens.
Yeah, you fuck with a toothbrush.
Yeah, the
Apparently.
stupid toothbrush.
What happened to that guy? Yeah, he's just
Yeah,
like, hey,
I'm gonna
Oral
turn
B,
on
come
my
here.
sister's toothbrush and be like, "Gotcha, bitch." Yeah, no, and I also would never go so far as to say that any religious people are incorrect. You know, like there are so many questions that are not answerable
Yeah.
that I don't necessarily subscribe to any of the major religions, but I also wouldn't put it past the universe for one of those things to be the truth.
Or,
You know, it's
or like a little bit of all of it.
Sure.
I feel like it all kind of, it's like a Venn diagram, right? Like it all overlaps.
well, you
And
compare all the major books, and I mean, they have a lot of
Yeah.
the same people, same stories. It's
Exactly. I think
know?
like there's a basis of truth for it somewhere in there, but I just think like I've over the years adopted a much more like wide view where I think that when a lot of these religions try to say, well, no, it's this and it's only this and everybody else is wrong. I'm like, then you're wrong to me because that can't be true.
Yeah.
There can't be this whole great big world with all of these different beliefs, all of these different cultures, and you're right and they're wrong when they outnumber you.
well, and there's no evidence that like supports one more than the other necessarily. All of them come down to at some point you do just have to like have faith for the comfort or certainty of having faith. I feel like that's good for some people, you know. I guess I just don't really care what happens when I die. Like I know what's going to happen and there's nothing I can do about it. So I really don't spend any time thinking about it.
Just don't
Really.
do it in an asylum, apparently. If that's
Right.
like
Well,
the
I
general
don't hang around like
rule.
abandoned asylums and stuff. That's, you know, I have a friend that does, but I don't do that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Is there, we've talked about like experiences so far here in the U.S. Is there a country that's got like, they're like the GOAT of having hauntings? Like they've got the most, like,
I mean, the UK has a lot
yeah.
going on just because, again, the history, you know, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But Australia actually has some pretty messed up stuff going on, and I think it might be because of their history, because they,
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, there's
very dark
Just a
history
bunch
there.
of
Anybody
bunch
with
of
a shady
prisoners
past
sent
is
to a
gonna have some
continent in the
stuff.
middle of the ocean. Yeah.
What could go wrong, right?
Yeah. No, it's fine. They're going to be happy. They're going to thrive.
With the most deadly animals in the world for no reason,
so
right?
many of them.
Everything's trying to kill you.
Everything
there.
in Australia wants to kill
The
you.
toilet spiders that everybody has, and apparently they're like
right
a
now.
What? I don't know about this
Oh,
one.
so in Australia,
Get ready to never
at
pee
least,
again.
Yeah, they have. It's common in people's homes. They have these giant spiders. Okay, that live in the toilet. They just like run around the toilet bowl, and
Okay,
they live
I've
there. And
seen
it's
the ones that are like up on the wall, which is bad enough, but the
inside
toilet spiders.
the toilet bowl.
No, I don't know how no one has
How
just burned
do
Australia
people
down.
live
I
in
don't.
Australia?
And I
I
love
don't get
Australia.
it.
I love
How do you
Australia. I've
sleep
got friends
there?
in there. Melbourne, great city. Love Australia. But how you guys have not just torched that place and started over? There's so many scary things there that are
Oh,
just
yeah.
real. That are like, well, not real, but like tangible creatures. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's the spider right there. Like, so to add hauntings onto it now,
Yeah,
like,
and dark hauntings
Bro.
at that.
it's a tough place to have fun. What kind of dark stuff are we talking about?
I mean, I definitely want to go.
Yeah.
Or at least I think I wanted to go more before the dark
Before
stuff
the
started
penitentiary.
happening to me. Yeah, exactly. That kind of changed a lot for me. But yeah, I have like PTSD or something now. But yeah, I mean, just like crazy stuff, because like there's so many like murders and just crazy, just not good stuff that have gone on
Yeah.
there, you know? And so, I mean, everything you can imagine, probably like a lot of the stuff that I've experienced, you know, at Pennhurst, like
Yeah.
is just going on in these spots there.
Do you think you're more susceptible to experiencing these things because of what you do? Like maybe entities can kind of pick up, they're like, oh shit, it's her? Or is it because you're actively going and searching for them, do you think? Or do
I
you think that
mean-
you actually do just, it happens more frequently?
I think it's law of numbers, first of all. I
Yeah,
think the more
that's
that
fair.
you subscribe to this stuff, the more that you know, put yourself around it, I think it's just bound to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also it's the type of places that you go into. Like, I don't think that, you know, this dark stuff is just hanging out everywhere, like,
Yeah.
you know, the haunted coffee shop, like you're saying, you know.
Is the tanning booth still open? Like we
Right.
should, like,
I
seriously.
don't know. I actually need to look into
Imagine
that. I
their
don't
Yelp
know.
page.
Right. There's got to be some stuff on there at this point. No, but I did this for probably about like 11 or 12 years, I think, before doing that show. And I had been around some dark stuff, but for some reason it didn't affect me the same ways, you know, like it didn't come home with me. It kind of left me alone.
Yeah.
It could have been because, you know, on my team, on the first show that I did, I had two big burly brothers that I was, you know, constantly around, and maybe they were protecting me. Who knows? You know, like they kind of were never scared of anything that would happen. And
Yeah.
I think I was never scared because they were never scared, and nothing ever happened to me, you know, like just innocent stuff. But I didn't have them on the second show, and, you know, I kind of went in there with this like false sense of security, I guess, and crazy stuff's happening. But I also, like I said, I think it's, you know, the type of places that you go in, because on the first show that I did on Ghost Lab, like we didn't go into we didn't focus on dark stuff. Like it was, you know, very historical. Like it was very just focused on like the history of places. We did like, you know, Civil War stuff, and, you know, going, like I said, going into family homes like in Arkansas, and you know, we did some pretty cool locations. But I think only like one or two of them actually had like darker stuff going on. So I remember being freaked out by it. I remember like, you know, so you guys know what EVPs are. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we, you know, gotten a lot of EVPs over the years. And I remember going into one of the darker places that we did do on Ghost Lab, some of the creepiest EVPs I've ever heard in my life. And I've heard a lot of EVPs, but I'm telling you right now, like, you know, the way that Hollywood makes a demon's voice sound, you know?
Yeah.
Where you're just like, okay, like that's a demon, right? That's what a demon sounds like. I swear to you, one of the EVPs that we got from this place in Tennessee was not human. It sounded exactly how you hear
Like that stereotypical,
the
just
stereotypical,
like, yeah.
yes.
Just like, you're like, nope.
not human vocal cords, and I was freaked out. But like I said, like even having that go on at this place, I still didn't take something home with me from there. But I remember
Spirit Airlines a whole new meaning. Seriously, like,
exactly.
I'm sorry, I really couldn't help myself. I've been
No, that
sitting on
was a
that
good
for
one,
so
dude.
Pretty good.
long.
That was good.
Okay.
You should pat yourself on the back for that.
But that was, I think, the other time that I've been the most freaked out was just like hearing that EVP.
Yeah.
Actually, I should let you guys hear it.
Is that possible to do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It might take me a while to pull it up.
Well, we can find. We'll do. Yeah.
You wanna do
we
it,
can,
like,
yeah, we
later?
can do it like after
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't even know if everybody else wants it.
I know.
Like,
I want you guys to hear it though. It's insane. Like I still to this day they play it on the episode like that of the place we were at, and it's still to this day when I hear it, it freaks me out. It is like it's the worst voice I've ever heard.
God, thrilled. Can't wait to hear it later. Cool. I swear, if I go home later and I'm like walking my dog and something happens, like we're gonna have words, okay? I'm not trying to go home.
I'm just
with
gonna
anything.
yell at it as soon as I
That's
get home.
all
with
you
that.
have to do. I'm telling you. And you could do like people do the sage or the Palo Santo, and
Yeah.
I used to like be on the fence about that stuff. I used to kind of be like, oh, what does that really do? Then after having that happen, like I was like, I'm gonna throw everything at the wall. Right? Like because
we're
I
doing
don't want
it
this
all.
thing in my house. So
And if all you got to do is burn a couple sticks,
right.
Who
Who cares? It's either the
I'll burn a
placebo
stick.
effect or it's really doing something. But either way, it's like
You're
there's
sleeping
no
better
harm
at
in
night
it,
regardless. Yeah.
So I do the Palo Santo now. I do. I keep it in my house.
I just can't
and-
believe you're still in the same place.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
after that, I'd
I'm
be
not.
like,
I'm not
out.
in that place anymore.
good.
No, I definitely. Like I said,
Tough
it
cookies
left.
for the person that is. But yeah.
Actually, no. Now that you mention it, so here's another crazy story. So that place, I moved out probably I think 6 months or 7 months, something like that. Like after that stuff was happening, not related to that. I just ended up moving. But I actually about a year after that, on my Facebook on Messenger. You know how like sometimes like if people that you aren't friends with can send you a message, but it sends it to like some other folder, like the archive folder or something like that. So like I never checked that, right? But one day I guess I just got bored and I happened to look in there and I see this message from this guy and I'm like, what is this? And I open it and it's this whole long paragraph and it's the guy that moved into the house that all that stuff was happening. And he was like, I don't even know how, or no, I was like, how did this guy even find me, right? Because like, there's no like record of me living in this house or whatever. Like I rented it, I didn't own the house or anything. So I'm like, how did this guy even find me? So something crazy where like I had ordered blinds, I think, in that house, and I don't know, he said my name was on the blind. I don't know what he was talking about, but somehow through me ordering these blinds, he found my name, tracked me down. Like this is dedication. And like sends me this message, and apparently his kid is having experiences in this house now, and his wife feels things that are going on in kind of the same area where I was seeing the shadow figure. They aren't having like the same crazy stuff that I was having going on, but they're having like a watered down version of it going on. Like the kid's having like night terrors.
God.
I mean,
And-
enough to find you and reach out to you, though.
And,
Seriously,
and,
you
well,
know.
like I said, like it wasn't easy to find me. He like does some research based on the blinds in the house, like enough to like go through this whole process to want to find me to say this. And I guess when he saw me on Facebook, he sees that I'm a paranormal investigator, so he's like, "Oh, perfect." And he reaches out to me. He's like, "What do you think's going on here?" And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, this is wild. Like, I just
start
happened-
yelling and set some boundaries.
Right.
Worked for me.
I'm like, I just happened to check my like archive messages and like find this, and like I dropped my phone. I read the message and I like threw the phone down. I was like,
Jeez.
this is insane, right? Like the saga continues
Yeah.
with this like crazy stuff from Pennhurst, right? So I just kind of told him, I was like, look, like these were the experiences that I was having go on in there. Like, from what you're telling me, it sounds like I said, like a watered down version of it, but clearly like there's some sort of energy that's like imprinted on this house.
Right.
Maybe bring somebody in, maybe just try to clear it, whatever. Like if I had been in town, like I was working on a show. I think I was like in another state at the time. I was like, if I would have been in town, I'll go by there, but
Yeah.
I wasn't there. So I was like, maybe get somebody to go in there and just,
Cleanse it up a little bit.
cleanse it up a little
Yeah.
bit. Exactly.
God, that's wild. That
That's
poor
crazy.
kid.
To go, I mean, He found you through the blinds.
Yeah, I still don't know how. It still doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't think there's like my name on the blinds I have no idea. But like, he did some research to like track me down because the stuff was going on. So like, it's dedication.
Yeah. No, I get that. That's like when my wife needs to find anybody on social media. She's like, oh yeah, give me 8 minutes and I'll find everything you need to know. It's just like that innate ability to be like, nope, there it is.
Oh, well, that's just females.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I can do that too.
Like,
Why
he
is
was
that a
channeling
thing?
energy.
We're all
It is
secretly
a
in the
thing.
CIA.
I don't know, but they're
You know,
really
like
good.
I can't find things in the fridge, but they're right there.
No, every time I go to
And
look
then
for anything,
Avery will
I'm
come in.
oh.
She's like, "This? You couldn't find this?" And she's a pain in the ass about it. I'm like, "Yeah, I couldn't
like,
find
no.
it. Thanks for
No,
nothing.
I
I guess."
That's the typical dynamic. It's just
Yeah.
it just
no,
is.
it's healthy. It's the way it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So basically, the longest order of this episode is don't go to the penitentiary outside of Philly.
Just stay out of penitentiaries.
Yeah.
I mean, for a multitude of reasons.
Right.
You know, it's not good places.
No.
I don't want to get haunted. I'm good. I don't have the time. I'm busy.
Yeah, see, that's how I feel too. Especially like the Monday through Friday. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want to come home from the studio and be like, I gotta yell at the walls
No.
again, tell the walls to leave me alone.
No, and at the time of this recording, it's still NFL season. I got games to watch. Like I'm busy.
Yeah.
You're just like hold it off till the weekend.
Yeah, like, just wait.
I don't have time for this
Just
right
wait.
now.
But
No.
being haunted maybe is just like quitting smoking. You know, there never is going to be a really good time.
No,
No.
Never.
no.
I mean, there
don't think
really
so.
isn't unless they're making brownies, like you were saying.
See,
you
They're
know,
like,
would be
I'll
it's
make
fine.
you brownies
Like-
every
Yeah.
day if you just put the cigarettes down. It's like, all right, fine.
I mean, I've always been partial to like, you know, like most kids when I was born. Like, what was the big one? Obviously, Ghostbusters. Like, who didn't want the Stay Puft guy? And now you got like the new little ones. And, like,
I
the
did
se-
not
like-
want the Stay Puft guy. Dude, that thing was terrifying. Knocking
Yeah,
down
I mean,
buildings in New
he's
York City,
cute,
dude.
but
No.
he's evil.
Not when he's
Yeah, that's fair. They get
2,500
into shenanigans,
feet tall.
but-
Yeah, right.
No, but like the new ones, the little like
The little one that
cute
you
ones,
could like
yeah.
put in your pocket.
They're
I'm
fine.
down with
You
that.
just keep them in a box somewhere.
Well, I think like Beetlejuice gives like a good, you know, like those people. I would let those people like live in my house, you know,
Yeah.
because they're just a normal couple that just,
Yeah.
you know, they're trying to just live their life. You give them like a room and you
The
know,
attic.
yeah,
Nobody goes in their attic.
Yeah.
Nobody.
No,
they may even like clean up, you know.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna like haunt me, just like be cool about it.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, I
like
don't know
that's
if
the
it works that way.
good that's the good scenario.
Yeah.
That movie was the good scenario.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Casper wasn't bad. Oh, no. I take that back. That was pretty terrifying what they did to those people.
I'll be honest, I don't remember Casper.
You don't remember
I haven't seen,
Casper?
no,
gonna
like I
watch
know
it
what you're
again.
talking about, but I haven't seen it in a minute.
You know that? Oh, man, that scene where they're sitting at the big, giant dining room table and they're just eating all the food and it falls onto the floor because they're friggin' ghosts? Dude, still makes me hungry just thinking about it.
I need to watch this movie again. It's been a while.
Anyway, you all have seen Casper. I don't know what these two are doing, but
Slacking.
slacking. They were slacking.
She's living it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you don't really need to see the cartoon when
No.
you got
Yeah,
the.
who needs to watch any of this stuff when you're living in
You're
real
sitting
life,
there
right?
She's
watching
got it,
Casper
yeah.
with your haunting ghost, and he's just like, "This sucks."
We're sitting
It's
here
not
watching
even
like
like that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like
Ghostbusters
that.
Yeah.
remakes of what, and she's like, they don't even know. You don't even know.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I said about Paranormal Activity until, you know, some of that stuff started happening
So
in
this started
my house.
happening to you, and you're like, oh god, maybe they were aware of it.
I was like, it doesn't happen like that, and then it's happening like
Yeah.
that. And,
You're like, oh, never mind.
yeah.
That was one of the only movies that wasn't just like a jump scare, but I took it home with me.
It literally,
I
so did
took-
she.
I didn't take a physical, like a real thing, not that, but it kept me awake.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to fall asleep because if something pulls the covers off of me, I am going to run out of here like an Olympic sprinter. You've never seen anybody move as fast as I in that situation.
No, the one that was that for me was Fourth Kind.
That was a
Fourth Kind.
crazy movie
Yes.
too, with the recordings that they play of like the alien voice, or whatever that they caught on the E
them
EVPs.
coming into the room and like dragging you out of bed. Like, come on.
Nope. Nope.
No.
Because I also, and the stories are as old as time almost. Time immemorial. People are like, oh, I got anally probed by the aliens. Like, they have technology, okay? So let's use our imaginations together. They have technology to get from a different solar system, planet, whatever. Like, they're coming from a different part of space to our town, our neck of the space. And they need to know, like, what's in our butts. Wrong.
Yeah, I don't see. That's
You.
the same argument I have.
That can't be the question.
No.
I mean, they could study the eyes, the opposable thumbs. I don't know what
That's
we
a
have that they don't
long
have.
way to
I
travel
get into
just
this
for a king.
debate with my boyfriend all the time because he is all into alien stuff and has actually showed me a lot of the movies that I should have seen up until this point and haven't, but like I've been on this like alien movie kick, like trying to catch up with some of these movies I've never seen, like, you know, Fire in the Sky and Close Encounters, all of those that like I somehow didn't see in my childhood. Like we've been on this like alien movie kick, and that's my argument. Is like he's like, oh, I don't want to get abducted because they're going to do experiments on me. I'm like, I don't think they need to do experiments on us. They're way advanced, right? Like, I think they already know how we work, how we operate. Like, they could be doing some other stuff, but I just have a hard time believing they're abducting us to do some sort of experiments on our body.
Right.
I don't
and
think
how
so.
how many butts do they need to go through? Like, one or two should have been enough for their experiments, but it's like people across the entire globe are like, waking up talking about that.
I think they're already living amongst us, honestly. Like, I think that they already know how we operate, how our society operates. Like, that's my personal opinion. I think they've been here for a while. They can disguise themselves as whatever they want. They can cloak themselves.
Did anybody check her ID before she came in? You have a passport I can check out really quick just to verify?
Yeah, I'm
Have
actually.
you ever been to Florida? She might be onto something.
No, I've been to Florida. I had a lot of questions after coming home from Florida. Like, why? Just in general.
Well,
Just
that
in
is the
general.
question. Welcome to Florida. Why?
Well, because I got there and I was like, this place is beautiful. And then every person without fail was awful. Awful.
Yeah.
Some dude almost hit me with his truck and then flipped me off. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, that's driving in Florida. Driving in Florida is a
that
whole
was like my
other
first
experience.
mistake.
Yes.
It's like merging in Boston. Like, those lines on the road are just for show, buddy.
It's a suggestion.
Yeah, it's just a polite suggestion. Like, figure it out. Like, man. Yeah, no. Aliens are not coming thousands of light years just for some butt stuff.
No, they're not.
We're okay.
No, dude. And I mean, maybe there's something we don't know about our butts that's like gold mine information that they have now. Because
I've been attached to mine for 36. How old am I? 37 now. I think I know what's up.
well, they certainly do.
It's fair.
Maybe there's a portal in there you don't know about that they know about.
No, I've
Never
been
know.
to
An
it's-
inner
it's-
anal portal. We're just off the plot here.
We have
Like,
taken a hard tangent.
So, I had a... Oh, okay, yeah. I wanted to circle back a bunch of times, but like you said, tangents. And
Right.
shit happens.
ADHD.
ADHD. That's right. Oh, man. There's so much I don't get done in a day. I almost just got caught in a tangent again. I'm asking my question. You said at the beginning that your person that you went to the asylum with was mildly possessed. Mm-hmm. And it caught my attention because you didn't say he was possessed. Like, fully regular amount. It was mildly.
Yes.
I am curious about that. Like, why...
Just a little bit.
Why did you think he was slightly...
Like I said, I
Like-
don't even like using that word because it's so over glamorized. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like so many shows, like not to name names, but you know the ones I'm talking about. It's just like, you know, a certain host is constantly possessed by a demon on like every episode. And it's like, first of all, that's not happening. Second of all, it doesn't like to encounter that much dark stuff. No, like you have to be actively seeking it out. You're not always going to get like manipulated in those ways by it too. And also like demonic possession is incredibly rare. It's incredibly rare. So I just hate to even use the word because it just what it elicits in people's minds, you know? And was he possessed by a demon? No, I don't think that was anything demonic. Was it something darker? Possibly. Could it have just been like a lost, confused child spirit? Possibly, right? Like we don't know. But I do know that for a solid couple hours, our friend was not himself.
Yeah.
So
It's more like a spiritual Uber. Just
Yeah.
needed a vessel. There you
well,
go.
also, you know, he was complaining. He was complaining of having something crawl on his back. Like that
That's
was
better
what
than
he
the
was
butt.
saying.
It's better than the butt.
Right?
Yeah, fairness. We're making progress.
So the demons are already got a one-up on the aliens.
Yeah, I mean maybe.
Do you believe, you said it's super rare, do you believe
makes
that
my
like
skin crawl just
some
thinking about
spirits
that.
can, like do you think spirits have that ability to take over a human body like a vessel?
I mean, I've seen it happen, and I also kind of experienced it myself, like in a way that maybe isn't how I thought it would happen.
Right.
But I think it can happen in all different ways. I mean, I think that they have the ability to manipulate people. I think that I've heard it. I think we've actually talked about this too. Like when people are kind of inebriated, or people are on hardcore drugs or whatever the case, like if you're not in your right mind, I think that you can also be more susceptible to it. People with depression, anybody who is just not fully themselves and not fully in control of themselves, I think that you can be more susceptible to
Easier
things.
target almost.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So the next time I accidentally have too much to drink, I'm just going to blame it on a ghost. Be like, that wasn't me. I didn't pee in the laundry hamper. It was a ghost. It was a spooky ghost.
I was possessed at the
Yeah,
time.
see, I
What
don't know
are
what
you gonna
happens.
do?
That's
Yeah.
going to go over
I
really
haven't
well when you
done
tell that to
but-
people.
Do you know why I pulled you over? I'm possessed, officer.
Oh my
He's gonna
God.
cuff you immediately.
Yeah, he'll be like, okay, out of the car.
Yeah. What are you on? Did you
And
walk
do
the
you
line?
have more?
Right.
You're under arrest, but you're all smiles, my dude. Yeah, well, that's probably the number one nightmare, I think, for most people would be
Getting possessed.
having like no control over what your body's doing.
Yeah, that wouldn't
Yeah.
be okay. I don't like that.
Wouldn't be cool,
Nope, not a fan.
especially when it's doing shit that you don't want to happen. It's like
Yeah.
out there, killing people and stuff. You're like, stop,
Yeah, I mean,
dude. Everyone's gonna blame this on me.
Okay, I love that you just took the exact same tone for like your body unintentionally killing, like taking lives, as if like a dog just peed on the floor. Like, stop it. Don't. Stop. Knock
don't
it
do
off.
that. That's bad.
No.
That's a bad boy.
Listen, it's you start there and then you slowly escalate.
It was just a
until you
relaxed
figure out
tone that you're like down here unaliving people, and all of a sudden you're like, knock it off now. Like,
Well, because what else are you gonna do? It's controlling your physical body. You know what I mean?
Take a firmer tone. I
It-
would imagine.
Yeah, I just feel like that demon's committed already fully to like puppeting your ass and killing people and doing.
Again, I just
Kinda
want a happy
thing.
haunting.
What about like the ghosts that push people down the stairs?
That's
That
just
happens
jacked up.
too.
Because I got
Yeah.
scoliosis. If I fall down the stairs, I'm
I mean,
telling
you
you
could-
right now, I will be
It
in a
could
wheelchair.
kill you, right? You know,
totally.
Like,
That'd be rude. Yeah.
It's super rude. Oh man, especially if it's not just like a tap, like it's a shove, so like you get whiplash in your neck, when somebody pushes you back and then you fall down the stairs.
we had a place that we investigated in Chicago. It was a tattoo parlor, and it was an interesting story because there was a guy haunting it who was the owner that had passed away. But while he was still alive in the shop, he was having paranormal experiences with another ghost in the place. So it was like this, like paranormal inception almost. It was a super cool experience. But one of the things that he had happen was the ghost Walter that I guess had. Okay, so to explain that, basically the tattoo parlor was a funeral home before, so it's a haunted tattoo parlor now. But I guess the guy that he was having the experiences with had been waked in that place. They knew him as Walter, and he had him push him down the stairs, and so he had that experience, and then he passed away, and so we started investigating and having experiences with both of them. So it's a cool situation. But yeah, I think about that, the ghosts that push people down the stairs, and I have yet to hear of one, pushing someone down the stairs and killing them. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I just haven't heard about it. But I always think about that. It's like you have, you're standing there and then something just pushes you downstairs. How do you explain that to people?
I'm gonna be scooting on my butt like a toddler towards the stairs,
Right.
and hanging on to every post on my way down. I'm like, you can't push me. Unpushable.
Hearing that, it kind of when I'm at, because my house has stairs, and so
Yeah.
when I'm standing at the top of the stairs, just if I'm talking to Jeremy or something like that, I think twice about it. That replays in my head because I'm like,
You're just
maybe
gonna
I
back
should
away.
move.
You're like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
You never know, right?
Yeah, the world's a crazy place. I mean, all of life is thinking, oh, that would never happen. That's crazy. Then you watch the news 2 weeks later and it freaking happened. You're like, oh my God. So it's really hard to discredit anything being possible. It blows me away when people are like, there's no aliens, there's no ghosts, none of that is possible. I've been assured.
Yeah.
I'm like,
By who?
Yeah,
Right.
I need to meet this fella.
Just because it hasn't happened to you.
You may have gotten some bad advice.
Right. Well, I feel like when you say it's not going to happen to you, that's just an invitation for it to happen to you.
Oh,
That
the universe is literally like, hold my
100%.
beer.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
Did
No,
you hear
that-
what Corey just said? That, ooh.
Yeah. Cannot wait to do that to him tonight.
Happy Tuesday night to you, mother lickers.
No, that was actually happening to the guy that got mildly possessed on our team. Like, he constantly would walk around and be like, bad things never happen to me. Bad things never happen to me. He must have said it like 20 times the whole time we were there. And then who's the one who has something happen to them?
Seriously.
The same guy.
I mean, it's kind of what you get. You know? That would never happen to me.
You saying
Yeah.
he was like asking for it?
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah. A little bit.
Walking into a penitentiary, just birds up at the ghosts. Like, yeah, bro, we're going to come for you. Like,
No, maybe that's what you should do, though.
Yeah,
That's what you
right?
should do. 'cause
When you're
just
trying
like,
to make contact, you know, a good way to make contact, I feel like, is to piss somebody off because it's harder to stay quiet when you're mad.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you just want to let them have it. It's really interesting talking to a paranormal investigator about this kind of stuff because I've always believed in it. There's really nobody to talk to about it without looking like a weirdo. So this is cool.
I'm the go-to in my friend group, you know, because like
I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the like I said, the Ghostbuster, the ghost hunter. They're always like calling me with, you know, crazy questions, and I had this happen. Can you explain this? Or like, I have this happening in my house. Can you come over here and make it go away? And I'm like, I don't know if I can make it go away, but I can go over there and maybe tell you what's going on.
I can confirm if you're screwed or not. I can tell you,
Yeah.
but
I can tell you if you need to move or not.
yeah,
I don't
but
know
I
if they're
won't
gonna
have a
move,
solution
but-
for your problem. You're gonna have to figure that out.
No, I think this is so cool. I love, like, I've learned a lot, and I just think it's fun. It's cool to actually be able to talk to somebody who like does this professionally and is like, no, yes, I know what this is, and this has happened, and yeah, that's fun.
I mean, I don't have all the answers for you because, you know, I've still got a ton of questions myself, but I can at least point you in the right direction.
Well, now we're in contact, so now when you learn new things, you can kind of pass on your wisdom to us, and then we will like step over the landmine that you stepped on.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Do as I say, not as I do. Right?
Beginning with stay out of asylums.
Yeah. But I was gonna do that to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
Already?
I don't have any of those on my travel list.
Yeah, that was something like, I mean, I definitely did that in high school. Like the trespassing into the
Yeah.
abandoned asylums seemed like a good idea at the time until someone gets arrested. Thankfully, it was never me.
That's hysterical. You would ditch school and go to an asylum. I ditched school so I could like smoke cigarettes. You know, with my friends, I just do stupid shit. You're out there experiencing hauntings and stuff. I did it wrong.
I was scared. I was a goody two shoes.
I did it wrong.
It's fair.
I was not. People told me not to do something. I rolled my sleeves up. I'm like, check this out. Pretty sure there's like a medical term for it. It's just bad listener-initis.
You're one of those. Like, how to get Corey to do something. Tell him not
Tell
to do
him
it.
not to do it.
You can't do that, or even better, you're not allowed to.
Oh, yeah, no.
People
that
tell
one-
my
That's fair.
32-year-old
That would be
ass
like,
what I'm allowed to do,
Yeah.
and I'm like, pause, dude. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go make that happen to prove you
Oh,
wrong.
really?
Yeah. It's a problem. My mom says it's because I'm a Scorpio.
That it is because you're a Scorpio.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, my problems are because I'm a Sagittarius, so
Is that right?
yeah.
Are you?
You don't hold me down.
Sagittarius?
You don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I'm a Libra, so it's everybody else's problem. I think. I don't know. I'm new to astrology. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
That's a whole other.
Yeah.
Whole
I know.
other realm.
I don't have. Yeah.
Hey,
It's like-
while we're talking about astrology and ghosts, I wanted to do a quick shout out to Chelas for bringing this awesome spread. Again, $60 feeds 4 to 6 people. Great for catering. Great if you don't want to cook, clean, dishes, none of that shit. You need to go to Chelas and pick up one of these kits, and you'll be better for it.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, yes, shout out to Chelas because this stuff is awesome. So grab it, especially if you are local here. How was that the segue? Astrology to tacos?
Well, because when I talk about that kind of stuff, it just gives me an appetite. You know? And,
Astrology makes you hungry.
Astrology
yeah, you
makes
look
me
up at the stars, it's just all empty, and I'm like, so is my stomach. Look at the tacos.
You see like burrito constellations.
I do, but being the Taco Tuesday guy, like I wear my Taco Tuesday hat to the gym all the time, and the people that don't know my name are just like, Taco Tuesday. You know, it's like, my last name is Happany, and everyone says, what's happening, Happany? Like, they're the first person. I'm like, you know, you got me. But I forgot why I was saying that. So,
something about astrology.
ADHD.
And
Oh,
ghosts
yeah,
and-
empty space, empty stomach tacos.
Yeah, there we go. I'm full.
Yeah. I got a half a pound of ground turkey in the fridge over there.
It's a sad life.
It's a sad life.
You're haunting yourself.
It's a bummer. It is a bummer. Maybe that's why I'm not being haunted. Is they're like he's doing a pretty good
Like
job.
he's already sad. He's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. You just get hungry and you crave food, and it's never ground turkey meat. Like, no food craving has ever been like a little bit of ground turkey.
What do you wish that it was?
Usually like a PB&J. Nutella Eggo waffles always sound good. And then when I'm like hungry for one of those things, I go to my fridge and I pull out like a freaking chicken and rice bowl or, 2 4-ounce turkey patties. And it sucks. But it's going to be over soon. So the future's looking bright for me.
This is like a self-imposed like Soylent Green diet.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It
Back to
worked. 55
PB&J
pounds
soon
later,
enough.
here I am.
That reference is going to be lost on the younger folks, but it's a good one.
Yeah. So anyway, any stories? I feel like we could just talk about ghosts forever.
I do have one last question. Because we kind of mentioned, again, we've been joking about like it's prisons and asylums and shitty places with like dark histories that are going to have like some of these things. The tanning bed was a fun one. Have there ever been any other surprising places where you're like, whoa, really? Like there's something here, like a Baskin Robin or anything?
Let me think on that. I mean, for sure, but I have so many stories. They all blend together. Well, I mean, a couple, like I said, the places that I've lived in that
Yeah.
I didn't experience, or I didn't expect rather, to have experiences in, because it wasn't like some old house or, it was just like a regular apartment. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, why is there stuff going on in here? Like, who knows? Maybe it was the land I was on. I don't know. But, one of the apartments that I lived in San Antonio, this is again before I was on any of the shows. But there was just weird stuff going on in there, and it was just like a regular apartment complex, like your everyday apartment complex. I don't know if maybe something happened in one of the apartments before I lived there, or like I said, like the land it sits on. I don't know, but there was stuff going on like all the time. Like there was like a magnet that would constantly flip off of my fridge, and I thought it was my cat doing it. And I remember like one of the times that she was sitting like right next to the fridge, and I heard it happen. It was like one of those like flat magnets that's like, shaped like something. It was like a lobster or something. And those things are hard to get off too. Like you have to stick your nail behind it and like peel it off.
Yeah,
It
once
doesn't
they're on
just
the
come
fridge,
off.
they're on.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing like popped off, and I looked down at her, and she was just kind of like, meh, like it wasn't me, like don't yell at me. And I was like, okay, this is weird, like a backpack would like constantly get moved from the hallway like into one of the rooms. Something actually got into bed with me in there too. Yeah, like just weird stuff going on.
That's
so,
just not okay.
yeah.
It's very intrusive.
Yeah. No means no, ghosts.
Right.
Like, Jesus.
Boundaries.
Yeah,
I know.
seriously.
Boundaries.
Like
That's when you
just
got to
climb
raise your
into
voice.
bed.
Yeah.
Like,
Really speak from the diaphragm.
But yeah, it's just like, places where you're like, oh, nothing would happen here.
Yeah.
There's no reason for this to happen. And then, stuff's going on because who knows whatever it was before it was an apartment complex, or maybe there were crazy people that lived in there before me and were doing crazy things in there. Who knows,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I mean, it's bound to happen, So, I think that's pretty much everything, guys. We talked about all that.
I feel like if I keep going, I'm going to end up going home with something. I'm going to
Yeah.
pick up something tangentially, and my dog's going to be like, bro, what'd you bring home?
Tangentially. I'm going to Google that later and see if that's even
I
a
think
word.
that was used correctly.
It might be a word and it was used correctly.
I don't know. The new year. It's fine. We got time.
Hey, Happy New Year.
At the time of this recording, yeah, for all you know, it could be March when you see this, and that could be weird. But yeah.
That's new enough year. Katie Burr, thank you so much for coming on to the Talking Tuesday podcast. I appreciate you.
This has been
Thanks for
awesome.
having me again.
If people want to learn more about you, if they want to message you their horror stories or things like that, track you down via blinds, is it like website, social media, like any place where people can find you?
You can find me. I think, most active on Instagram and TikTok. So you can find me at Katie Burr Official on both. And yes, please send me your ghost stories.
Awesome. This has been fun.
That has been fun. And now I want to know, because I feel like people are going to reach out to you with their ghost stories, and you're going to be like, stop. Stop.
No,
I
it's
mean,
like it's,
I already have that happen.
it's like having a friend who's a doctor, and you're like, "Look at my mole, dude." It's like, no, it's fine.
No, I usually just get like orb photos that like don't get me started on that because that's a whole other thing. They're like, "Oh, look at this! I see a face," and I'm like, "No, it's literally dust."
Yeah.
Good try.
But good for you. Yeah. Put the beer down. It's time to go to sleep. Yeah.
Touch some grass.
All right, everybody. Be nice to any sort of spirits that might be around you because you never know how they're going to mess with your life. Be good to each other. Eat a lot of tacos. And happy Taco Tuesday.
Bye.
Cheers.